Welcome back. So listen, got a little story I want to tell you about something that happened back in 2013. My son had first moved to Georgia, as we had always anticipated. Me and his mom had always planned for him to come to Georgia. And, he had his own cell phone at the time, which was under my father's account. I was excited to have my son in Georgia with just me and him. It was something I always envisioned, along with his older brother, Snoopy, which that didn't really happen and it didn't take place. So, at that time I was working pretty stable, had a 2-bedroom apartment. I tried to give him the best that I could give him that some things he didn't experience back in St. Louis, in his hometown. So, every now and then my dad would call me and be like, yo, what is this dude doing? He's downloading like certain videos. He's on YouTube. And this is like, in the early beginnings with social media, right before the explosion and the splurge of social media as we know it today. And, this went on for some time. So, he was pretty much responsible, kept up with the cell phone, called, answered when I called him because, it was just me and him. That's how we were operating at that time. So one day I'm sitting at work, and at that time I was working for JB Hunt, and I got a call. I was getting a live unload, and I got a call from a sheriff. Said, hey, are you the parent of such and such and such and such? And I was like, well, yes, I am. And, the first thing dude does, he goes off into this tangent like, yeah, your son's looking at 15 years for child pornography and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, whoa. First of all, who the fuck are you? You know what I mean? I have a real issue with law enforcement that call and are just so brash. They don't introduce themselves. They come off with a threatening tactic. They try to intimidate you. And mainly a lot of times, this is what, if you talk to the average black man, this is what we experience with dealing with law enforcement, right? There's a very aggressive way that they police us, and the way that they view us is very dangerous for our own health and our own safety and protection. So he goes off into this stuff about, my son was caught up in this child porn ring. And I'm like, wait a minute, sir. My son has never been involved in pornography. He's never been, out of my sight. He's never been nowhere out of my supervision. Well, come to find out that at that time, my son was doing what they call sexting, where he was sending pictures of his private parts to a young lady. Well, what ended up happening was this young lady's parents ended up intercepting her phone. And they started checking the phone, and they saw that there was some pretty graphic things in the phone. And then they went to her Instagram. Her Instagram had got hacked. Well, while these pictures were being sent back and forth and across the web and whatever have you, they got intercepted by a sick mind that put these pictures on the internet, I guess, for child pornography. Now, as this particular punk ass loft, this police officer was trying to explain to me how my son was caught up in it, is that since he sent the picture and text and he was conscious of it, he was guilty of sex pornography, which is a state law in Georgia. And at that time, I thought it was bullshit. Well, since he was talking about threatening to come apprehend my son and he was looking at 15 years, the first thing I did automatically, like any parent would do, is I'll call my job and say, hey, look, I got a 911 situation. I need to get out of here. I need to go up to the Douglas County Police Department. I got up to the police department and I asked to speak to the supervisor, chief that was in charge. I explained who I was, who my son was. I was his father. If this is true, he made a simple mistake. Now, what can I do to keep my son out of jail? And to my favor, this officer, he was kind, he was polite, he was cordial. And he really just wanted to take the easy way out and just be like, look, man, this is not really a big deal. Yes, there is a law set in place that children as young as 12 and 13 can be charged with child pornography, right? And it is a felony. And I still didn't believe him until he went and grabbed this. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, is the police report of the Douglas County Sheriff's Office. And when I read the report, and I seen some of the things that was being discussed in it, and because my son was a minor at the time, his name is not actually in the report. It absolutely blew my mind. So where am I going with this? There's an old saying, the one that rocks the cradle rules the world. My father used to always tell me that. I did not understand what that meant until years later. A lot of things in our society is targeted for the children. And why? Because children are influential, children are sponges, children are eager to life, and their curiosity is healthy. Healthy enough to put them in a wrong situation to where they don't even know the danger that they're getting involved in. I would have never thought in a million years that I would ever gotten a call about my son being threatened to be taken away from me for 15 years. Excuse me. I don't know why every time I go live, man, I just be having like gas and indigestion. I just don't get it, man. I don't know. That ain't nothing but the devil. But anyway, staying focused and on track. I don't even want to stop there. Now that obviously it agitated me, it irritated me. Anyway, as far as that officer that called me, like, yeah, he definitely was on one, and I just wish to. Anyway, got my son out of that trouble. I'm thankful for the officers to this day. But with our children, are you really paying attention to what they're monitoring and what they're watching on YouTube, what they're watching on TV? And with my son, I became more conscious, and I, would gradually take his phone, intercept it. I wanted to see what was going on, what he was doing. He actually got to the point where he started smelling himself, talking about I was invading his privacy. So I'm like, bro, listen, you're a child. You don't even pay the bill to this phone. If I want to see this phone, I'm going to take this phone. And I think parents, that you need to parent your children the same way, because we're living in a day and age where children have access to adult properties, adult material. Back in the day, we didn't. The only thing we could get was a VHS, right? Our parents and our grandparents and our fathers, they would hide these things until we found them. But that's not the same world that we're living in today, where everything is so accessible, and these children are walking around literally with a media mobile device in their hands where they can look at anything at any given time. Even with certain platforms where they put kid friendly, or even it might say kids this or kids that, blah, blah, blah. This is the number one place where the predators are roaming. My daughter was crazy about this app called Roblox. And as we've been studying and looking at what's going on in the news lately with Roblox, we understand that there were a lot of predators. And a lot of predators, these guys are geniuses. They are game developers, app developers. I remember there was an app with a cat. And, the kids would look at this cat. I guess the cat would mock everything that they do. And they said the creator and the developer of that particular app was a sexual predator. So I began to start watching some of the things that Peaches was watching, because what happens is when they go on YouTube, they'll watch a nice little innocent video. And as we know, if they watch one little video, because most kids' video only lasts but a few minutes, the next thing you know, by the time they got to the 15th video, there was sexual connotations in the video. Now, the child wasn't picking up on it, but I was picking up on it. And they don't really have to understand what they're seeing. Logically, they may not be able to put the pieces together, but the symbolisms were there for them to recognize subconsciously. There was even another show, and I'm not going to say the name because I think I will be held legally accountable for it. But there was another show where there were these animals, these featured characters, and they had creepy looking eyes. But for some reason, my daughter was drawn to this cartoon. I'm like, yo, Autumn, that look kind of creepy. But I specifically remember in one episode where they would tell you to look at the screen and then close your eyes, squeeze hard, open back up, look at the wall, and you can see the image on the wall. This could be quite a devastating, triggering effect in the mind of a child. Who knows when they get to go up to use the bathroom in the middle of the night, or they start having nightmares, as we all did as children, or thinking the boogeyman was in the closet, that when every time they open their eyes, they see the same image on the wall. It's illuminating, and it doesn't even leave the psychosis of the mind, right? So I had to really begin to watch and analyze and study what she was watching, until one day I just sat and I just watched her play Roblox. Now, she don't understand, because the Roblox game is animation. It looks childlike. I kind of look like Lego figures, until in one particular scene, in one room that she went in, there was an individual that was chasing her with a knife. She laughed. She Googled. I said, Peaches, who is this? Because we had it set for the children lock, but it didn't seem to work. I'm like, what child chases another individual at this level with a knife? I said, this is kind of gruesome. This is kind of graphic, Peaches. And she just laughed. I said, Peaches, I don't think that's a child. I think that's an adult. And this character just kept following her from room to room to room, just stabbing her, until I finally had to pull the trigger and say, you know what? That's enough of this app. I think that we have really better get in control of these things and understand that the biggest place where a lot of sexual predators are dormant at are on child apps, childlike videos. We think these things are innocent when they clearly are not. We know that pedophilia is on the rise. Child pornography has always been around. It's almost to the point where it's almost a normality. So we must protect our children, because, again, the one that rocks the cradle rules the world. And so I closely monitor everything that she watched. So when she comes with new verbiage, new ideologies, the way that she talks, I know she's getting it from these cartoons and these movies. And we have to be mindful of the movies as well, too. And the thing about it is, I've experienced certain behaviors in my daughter where I'm like, where did she get this from? Why is she acting like this? Neither me or her mother act this way. We don't carry on this way. We don't listen to these type of songs, and we don't talk like that. And we're pretty much on top of everything she's watching and doing. But yet and still, what happens when they go to school? Where's the self-discipline for them to walk away from the peers who might have a mobile device showing the wrong thing that's going on at the schools? So what do you do to counter these things? I say you beat the predators to the punch. And you go ahead and you open up that can of worms and you educate your child into the very dark world that we're living in and let them know this is what this means. This is what this is for. And a lot of people think that it might be too young or too graphic for a child to understand. Listen, these children are intelligent. They're damn near born with computers out their brain coming out the womb. They can understand very well what you're saying and what you're trying to convey to them. Because I can also remember on school night, they had a movie night, and I was quite curious to see what movie they would be watching. And I was tired from work, and I went to movie night with my daughter on a Friday night. And I sat there, even though I was dozing off or whatever. I wanted to see, and I was curious to see what this school was going to show these children. And I specifically remember there was a character in this movie with a woman-like face and a man-like body, but you could not tell the gender of this particular character. Because it was an animation, children thought it was innocent. They laughed, they joked along, and I'm sitting there and I'm analyzing this. And the crazy part about it was no other adult around seemed to pick up on the same thing that I was picking up on. Like, yo, do we not understand that this character is kind of weird and it's giving off a funny vibe? Because it's all about acclamation. Just like how we see all these alien movies. They say movies are predictive programming. All of it's acclamation. Just like I believe somebody was saying years ago that we've seen so many alien movies that if we actually encounter other life forms, it won't be a big deal because we've been watching these movies forever. Y'all remember back in the day the movie called V? V scared the hell out of me. I'm like, yo, damn, this is finna happen for real. Our planet's finna get invaded by people with cone heads that can teleportate and transform their being from a human being to a mutant or to a reptilian or whatever they want to call it, to the underground world. These things I thought was fabricated, but these things are real. So when we left the movie night, I explained to my daughter, I said, Autumn, let me explain something to you. First of all, I had to question her because I wanted to get her logic. I wanted to see what she thought about what she had just watched. I said, sweetheart, did you like that movie? Yes, Daddy, I liked the movie very much. It was funny. I liked it. I said, what did you like about the movie? Who was your favorite character in the movie? Because there was quite a few, right? And obviously she liked the main character. And that's what I was looking for her to say. I said, well, Autumn, let me explain something to you. That character is not who you think or what you think they are. And I explained to her that that character may have been what you call a transgender. She shrugged her face like, what does that mean? Because if I don't define what that is and the play on society that particular group has, and this is no disrespect to any transgender, then if I don't give her the understanding of the world that she lives in and what she's about to come in contact with, because we can't stop it. I don't care if you homeschool your children now. We cannot stop the imposition of the world upon our children. Once they go out into society, once they're not in our presence, we can't lay eyes on them. We must tell them the truth. And she struggled with it and she asked questions as I have taught her to do. But once she came into the understanding of it, now she knows that's a transgender. Now, I won't be disrespectful. I won't be hateful and mean, but I do understand that is not something I really coincide with. That's not something I don't support. And that's something that's not really normal or natural, right? Now, this is my child. I know a lot of people from the LGBT community, they come for you when you don't teach gay tolerance. And I don't have to teach gay tolerance. Listen, I'm a black man and society still ain't even tolerating black men. I'm going to teach my child what's right and exact, what's correct, what's normal, and what's natural. When she becomes an adult, she can make her own decision, and whatever decision she decides to make, I, as a parent, as a loving parent, will accept it. But as a child, it is my duty to protect her from the acts of violence, and that is once defined by, I believe it was, I want to say it was Neely Fuller Jr. in a lecture he had about how the acts of violence, the bludgeoning of ignorance, self-hate that is taught, and confusion is an act of violence upon the childlike mind. And it is, because it sends them to a state of confusion, misunderstanding, and it eventually will misguide them. So make sure that you are watching what your children are watching on YouTube, what they are watching on TV. Make sure that when it comes to the mobile devices that they're not sending anything across the internet. I know I have a good friend, Mrs. Kimberly Reyes, who was a CEO and founder of All the Unexpected podcast. She deals with the postpartum. Oh my God, Kim, I'm so sorry. When women come out of the hospital, they give birth. I think it's the postpartum depression. I think it's post mortality, right? I'm really butchering this up. I really got to do better. Kim, I'm so sorry. But she always warns me and tells me, hey, listen, you might want to watch putting your daughter on the internet. You might want to watch putting pictures of her out there and selfies of when she does an accomplishment. Now, at first, I really didn't understand it, didn't see the harm in it, but I do now. And I think we all need to be mindful of it because we live in a world of AI, right? We don't know if we're dealing with a human being. We don't know if we're dealing with a bot. And as a matter of fact, I love AI. I've been really getting deep and deeper into AI. I love it so much, but we must understand that this is the coming world that we're going to have to deal with, right? I'm going to do another episode on that. But I try not to be long-winded. Let's see, I'm at the 16-minute mark. I promise to try to keep these things up under 20 minutes because it don't take that long to say what a person has to say. You all get the meaning, you get the drift. I don't ever want anybody to get a call from a police officer threatening to take your child away for child porn or something, breaking a law that they did not know existed. I don't want to see anybody's child confused or misguided because of something that they're watching in an app or on YouTube that they just love so much. But you as an adult can identify everything that's wrong with what they're watching. It is us to protect them. It is us to lead and guide them. We cannot not shield them from the world. They're going to be exposed to so much. So my advice to you is you had better jump on it before society does. You had better jump on top of the logic cultivation before YouTube does, or any other Walt Disney movie, or any other subconsciously damaging images that I see going on today out here in society and in the world. So with that being said, I'm always big on self-improvement, and that's one thing I'm going to work on each and every day. I'm not going to play the blame game for everything that has gone wrong in my life or the bad decisions that I make. But the day I realized that self-improvement is really just dealing with yourself, overcoming certain hurt and pain, and dealing with some of the ugly truths. You got to learn. The first thing I think a person do besides, I said in the book, your first order is health. As far as for black men, is your first order of things is your health. We got to be healthy. But second of all, we got to stop lying to ourselves about who we are and what we are not. And it requires a lot of work. So with that being said, once you do the work, the world looks a little different. The friends and the circles get smaller. Once you start to take life more seriously, the phone stops ringing and it's okay. I was reading something today, man, that when you're alone, you're actually really not alone. God has just separated you to do the work, to make you become the individual that you're supposed to come, and he equipped you with the tools of whatever assignment that you are supposed to complete in this lifetime while you are here. I want to send my prayers and my meditations and the safety for the people down in Tampa, Florida, who are facing a hurricane. I think it's Milton. You are in my prayers. I hope everybody remains safe, evacuate, get to safety. I've been hearing a lot of horror stories about a lot of people are not able to evacuate. They can't afford to. Heard stories of people jammed up on the bridge, running out of gas. And it's just a sad deal all the way around. And, people are frustrated because the FEMA camps or the FEMA assistance is not what they thought it would be. However, people will always bring up how the United States will send money in aid of the war-torn countries and immigrants that's coming into the country. It's just a real rough time. But I say, in these days and times, lean on your strength and your source. Whatever God you believe in, whatever spiritual practice, I ask that you lean on that to give you peace of mind, to give you comfort, and to give you balance, and to keep you stable to be able to solve whatever problem that you're about to face. Because we're all dealing with storms. We're all dealing with hurricanes. There's a hurricane coming to each and every one of our lives that we can't evacuate from. We got to stand right there in our square, and we have to deal with the eye of the storm right there in the center. But once you come out of that storm, you always come out a bigger and better person. There's no progress and change without struggle. You have to become uncomfortable to one day become in a state that is very comfortable for you to exist in. All right. If you haven't purchased a copy today, man, listen, I posted this in the link, man. You could click on the IG channel at the Acquire Man podcast on IG. Click on the link and get your copy today. So you can find this on Amazon. You can find this on Beacons. It's Empowering the Perfect You, self-improvement tips for black men in the era of rejected masculinity. And all we're doing and all we're focusing on, gentlemen, is self-improvement. We're not focused on chasing hoes. We're not focused on scrolling on social media all day. We're not focused on hanging out in the clubs. We're not focused on doing some of the vices and habits that cause us to be counterproductive. We're strictly focusing on self-improvement. Oh, right? That's the name of the game. 56 pages of jewels. I'm the king of short-winded books with long-term results. Shout out to my new marketing team, bro. Shout out to brother Don. Man, it was great to meet this guy, man. This brother is on point. I'm learning a lot, right? I'm learning a lot. Remaining humble. I'm getting over myself. No ego. Listen, I'm not fucking with anybody moving forward with egos, arrogance. Listen, some of the dopest people in the world to me are people that's in the world of AI, people that's in the medical industry, you know, people that know how to fix and build houses. Those are like the dopest people to me that I think that can have an ego. People who can crack the code to this system of racism. Those are the people I don't mind having an ego. But just because you think you somebody because of the way you look, let me tell you something. TikTok is a weird damn place. I got back on TikTok just to promote my book because TikTok can bring you like hella followers in no time, right? And I'm kind of getting there. And I'm thinking about, I want to privatize my page, but you really can't do it, you know, when you're trying to get to the business aspect of it and post your links and monetize. But TikTok is so weird, man. Like all I do, I scroll and I follow a lot of AI pages. I try to follow pages that's constructive, people I can learn from. But every time I scroll, I see nothing but lives of women sitting naked in their bedroom, listening to music. Somebody is having a church sermon. Another person is a doomsday prophet. Another person is talking about, you know, the economy system's finna crash. Another person is talking about, you know, children screaming in containers down at the port. Like, yo, social media could give you a severe overload of information. But TikTok and Clubhouse is like two of the most toxic, weird spaces I ever seen. And so, wrapping this thing up, because I know I said it a bunch of 10 times. Young lady DM me that I recently started following on TikTok. Shout out to Jasmine out there in the Bay. I probably know more Bay music than you. Shout out to She Brought Us Back, my girl Chablis. Shout out to my girl out there in the Bay. Yeah. But listen, we were having a discussion, and it was like there was like some sparks, right? But I'm not dating. No, I really don't care to date right now. I don't give a damn about dating. I really don't. I'm just not in that space. But I told her something. I said, listen, let me explain something to you. You're attractive. Black women are beautiful. But don't mistake being attractive for being interesting. I need to be interested in you, not just attracted to you. If you sitting up there and you're the message that I'm supposed to learn from, just you looking at you, talk about your day, listening to music, talking about the love you can't find, that's not interesting to me. But if you are a woman, and this goes for the men too, because you need to be interesting to women who are of a high standard. If you want to get with somebody that's of substance, you got to be interesting. Now, some people they can define that however. You know, I find what I define to be interesting in a woman is if I can learn from her skill set, you know, her conversation that takes me into the future. You know, that's interesting to me. I don't give a damn about how good you damn look. I promise to God I don't. Matter of fact, I'm about to go into the ugly girl era. Like, where the ugly girls at? Send me all the ugly girls. You know what I'm saying? I want the ugly girls. I'm on one today, man. But listen, this is the place where we bring it sexy back to the everyday hardworking men and women who impact your lives within close proximity. We want to rise above this madness called black culture. And I want to give one more shout out to my homegirl back in St. Louis, Mary Bogan. We go way back to Normandy. And I don't know how I got a public page, Messiah, on Facebook. And I don't have it blocked. So it's like people that I have blocked on Facebook. I think I have like 319 people blocked on Facebook, but they finding my ass on a new page. And we just got to shooting the shit back and forth. And we used to argue all the time about knowledge and black people and religion. And she just said, listen, I'm not a deep person. Life is not that serious to me, and that's okay. And I can accept that. Back when I was a little bit more toxic and a little bit more pro-black and angry, I used to be that guy to try to put my opinions on people, impose on people. And anybody that's been following me for a while know I used to be that guy, but I made this self-improvement. I worked on myself. But the one thing she told me today, and it's always good to get your flowers, she said, you have a dangerous mind. She said, you get a book and nobody gonna be able to fuck with you. And I'm like, I never knew she felt that way about me. I never knew she viewed me like that, but it just made me feel so good and valued. But she was like, you have a dangerous mind. And I always thought that she despised like knowledge and information, which she really didn't. It was just the way I presented it. But she gave me my flowers today. So hometown, home girl, what you say that day? What's the speed limit? Forever in my heart. Shout out to my girl, Mary Bogan. Shout out to my dad today. It's his birthday. Congratulations on the milestone that happened today. And shout out to my brothers, man. Let me give a shout out to my brother, Jay Craze, Dot, man. It's my brothers, my mother. So, and everybody that helped me to get to where I am today, man. Listen, I rambled long enough. Damn, I'm almost hitting 30 minutes again. I promise, y'all. I promise I'm working on this. I don't want to be one of these long-winded dudes that just take forever to get what he got to get out. So my apologies. I should have cut it off at 15. I'm working on becoming the 15-minute king, right? I might even rename the podcast 15 minutes. The 15-minute podcast, right? Go figure. Listen, I got some future guests coming up that's going to be so dope. Overseas soccer players, lawyers, I got an artist, but, a lot of these are brothers, and I do have some other people from other ethnicities that are going to come on. I got some great episodes coming up. I'm not going to be loading up content every single week because everybody named mama got content. Everybody named mama talking. Everybody's a philosopher. Everybody life coaches. I don't want to be a part of that cloth. I just want to say what I got to say and leave it be, right? Well, the biggest mistake that you can make in life, man, is to think that you got time. Until next time, peace and do the work.